Hello, one and all. Welcome into another edition of the Cory Sanding Show. I appreciate you for being patient with me while I was sick last weekend and had to cancel Friday's show, unfortunately. But I am back, and I am not better than ever, but we're surviving, and we're going to get to it. But boy, do I have a show for you today. My energy might not be as high as usual, but we've got NBA Finals talk. We've got Pacers, Thunder. We've got Derrick Henry potentially appearing in an Adam Sandler movie. We'll see what has to come of that. But overall, jam-packed show. Looking forward to the NBA Finals starting tomorrow night. And it's obviously something that I've been looking forward to for a long time, being the basketball fan that I actually am. So with that being said, appreciate you all for tuning in. Looks like we've got a couple of live congruents here. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So as we all know, the Thunder and Pacers are set to meet in the NBA Finals. And if my media will actually work, there we go. Set to meet in the NBA Finals. Game 1 starts tomorrow, June 5th, 8:30 Eastern time in Oklahoma City. Thunder, Pacers. Can't say this one was expected. Can't say this one, well, from the OKC side, maybe. But Indiana, they made the conference finals last year, but it was certainly something that we thought the Celtics were going to come out of the East, but things happen and then the Knicks go and choke like they always do. So here we are, Indiana making their first NBA Finals appearance since 2000 when they lost in 5 games to the Kobe and Shaq-led Lakers. That was perhaps Reggie Miller's best chance maybe at a championship. Could call some of those conference finals appearances in the 90s perhaps even better, but ultimately that 3 wins away is the closest he ever got. So we've got the Thunder coming in, 68 wins, and they almost won 70 games on the season. They have the reigning NBA MVP and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Jalen Williams made the All-Star team for the first time, and seemed like, honestly, the Thunder were on a collision course for the NBA Finals regardless. And here we are. Indiana, 4th seed in the East, 50-32. Not the greatest record in the world, but have been red hot since the playoffs started. And they have a squad too. Pascal Siakam, NBA champion in 2019 with the Raptors. He played a significant role in them overcoming the Warriors despite KD and obviously Klay Thompson's injuries. Tyrese Halliburton, point guard extraordinaire who has the capability of going off for 30 anytime he wants, but also dishing out 15 assists anytime he wants. And then obviously you have the big man matchup with Miles Turner and Chet Holmgren, both monsters in their own rights. It's a closer matchup on paper than you would think, but at the end of the day, who has the advantage here? I think it's clear. I've been on the Thunder train since midway through the season. I think it's clear and above that OKC is the heavy favorite in Vegas. I think they agree with me as well, and they have home court advantage, and obviously they have the best player in the series in SGA. They might even have the second best player in the series in Jalen Williams if you really, really want to break it down with Tyrese Halliburton number-wise. Pascal Siakam, maybe you could give him that nod, but overall, the Thunder are loaded on paper. The Pacers have a very, very solid team on paper, and it's going to be interesting to see how the benches play a part in this as well because, like I said, the Thunder can go 1 to 10 deep. The Pacers can go 1 to 10 deep and still have success, and they've both proven that so far in this postseason, pardon me. But I've been on the Thunder train. I think Oklahoma City is going to take this series. I honestly don't even know if it'll be that close. Maybe I'll give the Pacers 2 games, maybe out of respect. But ultimately, I think this stage is going to end up being too big for them rather than it would be for the Thunder, even though it's kind of odd to say that because the Thunder have hardly any, I don't even know if the Thunder have any NBA Finals experience on their roster. But no, they do. They have Alex Caruso. But Alex Caruso, Pascal Siakam, who has more of an impact on their respective teams? I mean, come on now. But at the end of the day, the Thunder have been the best team all year, and I think it's going to show in this series, and I think they're going to cap off a dream regular season, and Sam Presti is finally going to get the long-awaited credit that he so desperately craved since he made all those trades and traded away all those assets that eventually landed them SGA in the past. No championship from Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, and Russell Westbrook. No championship from KD and Russell Westbrook, and no championship from KD, Harden, and Westbrook either. A lot of chances, a lot of great teams. They were even up 3-1 on the Warriors in 2016. And obviously, we all remember how that went. And Kevin Durant ended up taking his talents to the Bay Area. And, where you can argue whether he piggybacked the Golden State Warriors dynasty on his way to 2 championships, but he was the finals MVP in both of those series and obviously was the best player in the tipping point because we all know the story of the Hamptons 5. But the Thunder, finally, I believe, are going to get it done. I think this is something that's been long awaited in Oklahoma City. It's going to be great for Thunder fans. This is their first finals appearance since 2012. It's hard to believe it's been that long since this team has been to the NBA Finals, given how good they were for so long, for so many years, for over a decade. Now, the rest teams, even when he won MVP and had PG, were middle of the pack, but they were still making the playoffs and still capable of making the conference finals. I mean, nobody was beating Golden State at that time. Houston had a great shot in 2018. We all remember how that went in games 6 and 7. Blown double-digit leads, James Harden, and I believe game 7 was 22 straight missed threes at home. I'm not a professional basketball player. I didn't play basketball in college, but I have a hard time believing that I would miss 22 straight threes. I have a hard time believing that my pickup team at National Fitness would miss 22 straight threes. It's just hard to do especially when you're a professional, but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to take Oklahoma City in 5. I know I'm going kind of out on a limb there because people are going to say I'm disrespecting the Pacers. No, I'm just respecting the Thunder that much. SGA is going to have as if he didn't already have a coming out party. His coming out party is going to cap off with a championship. And that championship is going to be clinched in Oklahoma City at home in game 5. And the Thunder fans, the raucous Thunder fans are going to finally get to celebrate what's been so long, what they've so desperately craved for so long. Do I see a scenario in which Indiana could pull off the upset? Maybe if Tyrese Halliburton consistently scores 20 to 25, has 10 assists, right around 10 assists consistently. Maybe if Pascal Siakam averages 20 and 9. Maybe if Miles Turner averages a double-double close to it. But at the end of the day, I think Oklahoma City gets this done. And I don't think the series is going to be close. I don't think history is going to reflect this series as being close. Maybe I'll be wrong and some of the games will be, but I see more of a gap than most people do. Just being dead honest. Have the Pacers earned my respect from making it to this point? Yeah. They had my respect regardless, making 2 straight conference finals appearances, but we saw them do that in 2013 and 14 when they had Paul George, Roy Hibbert, that crew, who don't even get me started on them because at the end of the day, that team was annoying to play against because they thought they were better than they were, but we won't get into that. But yeah, I'm taking the Pacers. I'm taking the Thunder in 5. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander caps off a phenomenal regular season with finals MVP. First person since 2013 to win both MVP and finals MVP in the same season. The last person to do that was LeBron in 2012 and 13, did it consecutively. And he'll be the first guard to do that since Michael Jordan, who did it 4 times. Steph Curry obviously won MVP in a championship in 2015, but Andre Iguodala, got the finals MVP for holding LeBron to 36, 13, and 9. It's quite an accomplishment, if you ask me, especially considering the fact that Cleveland didn't have much. We won't get into that. But second topic, only because I poached this from First Things First. Yeah, I get a kick out of watching Nick Wright, and I've always been a Chris Broussard fan. But it's been widely debated on sports media this week. Who has the most to gain from a championship, from winning this series? And in no particular order, I go for one. Pascal Siakam has a lot to gain. I think Pascal Siakam, if he wins a second ring, I think that solidifies his status as a Hall of Famer. Now, granted, it is the Basketball Hall of Fame, so it's not the NBA Hall of Fame, so there's a little bit less criteria to get into when it comes to that. Pascal Siakam has a lot to gain. Jalen Williams has a lot to gain. He proves that he can be a significant contributor on a championship and that he wasn't just a one-off all-star Mo Williams type anomaly. He averaged 20 points a game, so it's not like he's a scrub. But he's very young and very unproven still in terms of longevity. And obviously, Sam Presti has a lot to gain because that'll be the long awaited championship that he's, like I said earlier, so desperately craved. Rick Carlisle has a lot to gain. Very short list of coaches. I believe it's 4 that have won championships with 2 teams. I know Phil Jackson and Pat Riley are 2 of them. Probably had to do my research to find the third. But could you imagine taking two underdog teams, Dallas Mavericks in 2011, the third seed, with an old aging, Dirk was at the top peak of his powers, but an aging Jason Terry, decrepit Jason Kidd, Peja Stojakovic, Sean Marion, Deshaun Stevenson, don't even get me started. Those of you who remember that. And then to come to do it with this team, the Indiana Pacers, who were the underdogs. Granted, they did play the Knicks in the conference finals. There wasn't the Celtics, but pretty impressive. Now, granted, that Dallas team had to go through a much tougher road. They beat the Portland Trail Blazers in the first round in 6. That was the last hurrah for Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge. Obviously went on to sweep the two-time defending champion Lakers when Kobe, Gasol, they just hit a wall physically. They had been to 3 straight NBA finals, and they were aging. It was the end of their run. It was bound to happen. Kobe hit a physical wall in that series, rest his soul. And then going through that's the Baby Thunder. It's even more of a Baby Thunder team than it was in 2012 when they won the West. And then obviously the epic Miami Heat meltdown in the 2011 finals. But give Dallas credit because they did come back from 15 down in game 2 in Miami, stole that game, came back from down 9 with about 9 and change remaining in game 4, stole that game, came back from down 4 down with 3 minutes to go in game 5, stole that game, and then went to Miami. And, obviously remember what happened when they closed the Heat out in game 6. But who has the most to gain? SGA, because this could seriously put SGA in. I mean, he's already in the discussion. I think most people agree that Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA right now, but this will put him in the discussion. This will put him as a 1A, 1A minus. That's the only way I can think of put it. Because at the end of the day, Joker is going to have that title for quite a long time, but SGA will be right in that conversation. Championship, Finals MVP. What more could you ask for? And Jokic is probably kicking wanting to hunt down Joel Embiid because he could have been one of the only players to have a MVP and Finals MVP in the same season when he beat my Heat in 2023. But we won't get into that. SGA has the most to gain in this series because at the end of the day, he's the one jockeying for position to be the cream de la crop. Everyone else I mentioned has a lot to gain personally, but we're not going to look at Rick Carlisle as the best coach ever if this happens. Or even, maybe in the NBA, but you still have Eric Spoelstra. You still have guys like that. Ty Lue. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think this makes him the best coach in the NBA. Jalen Williams, validate him a little bit. Now, if he was to win Finals MVP, which I do not think is going to happen, that would be the most to gain. Siakam and Halliburton, obviously a lot to gain as well. Maybe that does put Tyrese Halliburton in that superstar category. I still don't think he's there yet. He's still got too much inconsistency on the offensive end. He'll go for 35 one night, and then he'll go for single digits the next. Need more consistency. But overall, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been a wonder to watch for some time because of some of you that don't know, well, actually, we'll get into that topic in a second. First, we'll go to some live comments because I know I got quite a few to get to. Okay, so Trevor Scott says jump shot still weak. I know you ain't talking about me, man. You must be talking about yourself. I'm actually going to go ahead and take this banner off the bottom just because I'm out of the groove. You all have to get me back into it. But you must be talking about yourself because if I remember correctly, you were the founding president of the BBA, the Brick Banker Airball Association. Because it was one of the 3. I'll get some tape on, and Trevor will be on the show when we get closer to the NFL season because he's tremendous Chicago Bears fan, if there is such thing. Official Study Boy says, I'm dropping 50 on anybody in the chat. So that means all of you in the chat right now, all you tuning in live, Study Boy says he's going to drop 50 on you one-on-one. And then he goes on to call himself Jerry Bird. Obviously a reference to Larry. And Okana, who just had one of his new single release music videos out on YouTube, if you want to go check that out, says, let's go Indy. Why? Because of the underdog? You're not a Pacers fan. You always root for the underdog. You were rooting for Dallas in 2011, if I remember correctly. Dirk had the flu. Remember Dirk had the flu? Y'all hear me cough? Think I'm sick? But you got, I mean, I'm just going with the funny comments right now, especially you, O'Connor. So I guess O'Connor get 50 drop on him. Cory Sanning is Sean Marion. You're the one that shoots like Sean Marion, so I don't know how I can be because I can actually drain a shot from the outside. This is a hot take. The Mavs had the greatest finals run ever. How did they have the greatest finals run ever? Because they shouldn't even have gotten there? Because they were the weakest championship team of that decade? I mean, the Lakers were beat. They were cooked. They were physically spent. The Thunder were wet behind the ears and had no experience. You could tell in that game 4 loss. I think that they blew a 15-point lead with 2 minutes left in the 4 minutes left in the game. The Heat was about 6 and change. And then you have LeBron James' epic meltdown in the 2011 NBA Finals that I will never get over. The GOAT ship sailed for me that day after Game 6, and it will never come back. It sank to the bottom with the Titanic. You can't average 18 points a game in the NBA Finals in the peak of your prime and be the GOAT, but that's neither here nor there. I'm sorry, but if LeBron plays like he's capable of, they sweep Dallas like they should have. So I can't call that the greatest finals run ever just because of that what I just said. But Study Boy with another hot take, even though you misspelled Harden, my guy. KD, Westbrook, and Harden would destroy the new OKC. I don't know about that. This OKC team statistically is the greatest defensive team ever. That OKC team wasn't known for its defense. Westbrook and Harden weren't guarding anybody. They had Serge Ibaka, and he had, was a good shot blocker, but he wasn't guarding people one-on-one. Neither was Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant became a better defender over the course of his career when he got to Golden State, but no, I don't see it. Maybe it'd be a close series, but this OKC team is more well-constructed than that one was. And they've got a better coach. Scotty Brooks is, he's a good coach, but he's not a great one. Daig's got my vote when it comes to that. So I don't agree with that. All right. Study Boy says, watch LeBron try to get traded to OKC next season. That's not going to happen. They wouldn't have the cap room. He's not going to take a minimum contract. And he's not going to go to a brand new place. And he's not going to want to live in OKC when he's over 40. He's got 2 houses in LA, I believe. The only other place he would go, I think, would be Cleveland. And I don't even think that's going to happen. Or maybe if he decides to stay in the NBA until Bryce plays, who knows? He's got the longevity. He's got the health. He spends his money on his body, and he's the best in-shape athlete I've ever seen. Wouldn't put it past LeBron, but LeBron's not ending up in OKC. I will always root for the underdog, Row. Greatest run of all time. If you're referring to Dallas, I just proved why it wasn't. Mavs had a great run, don't get me wrong. But honestly, when you're the weakest championship team of a decade, I would take the 2019 Raptors over the 2011 Mavs. I'd take even the 2010 Lakers over the 2011 Mavs. So, I mean, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't think they'd get it done, but thank you all. It looks like we got about 5 people tuning in live. Not a lot, but, it's staying steady. I do appreciate y'all tuning in just because, I am trying to build something here. That's something that I've wanted to do for so long. And speaking of something I've wanted to do for so long, and actually I'm about to get into that discussion, back into the topics. Many of you don't know my previous background. I was a news and sports reporter. Primarily, my background was in sports for over 6 years. Covered Tennessee for the Daily Beacon there on campus at UT. UTK, as some people say, even though it is the real UT. Texas fans, get out of my mentions. And was the men's basketball beat writer from the time I was a sophomore in college. Eventually transitioned to that, when I worked at Sports Illustrated, running the Tennessee site for a short period of time. Well, for about a year before, obviously, the pandemic forced me out. And in 2018, I got the chance Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was playing at Kentucky. He's a skinny little number 22. I remember him. And actually, I'm going to get into those memories right now. Because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming out of Kentucky, I mean, I never saw NBA MVP out of him. I mean, as you see the picture right here, that was him cutting down the net at the SEC championship game in St. Louis, beating Tennessee to do so. I was there covering that game. I remember. That's my Greyhound horror story, which I'll get into actually here in just a minute because it's actually one of my memories of that time as well. I do remember vividly because I was on press row. It was less than a minute to go. Tennessee had tried to make a push to get close because Kentucky had controlled the game throughout. And SGA said, no mas. Crossover, top of the key, step back jumper. It was a goofy looking thing at the time. But lo and behold, he made it. And from that moment on, and obviously he was named the most outstanding player of the tournament, I believe. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong on that, chat. From that point on, I had some inklings about what SGA could become because, I mean, he could have arguably won MVP last year. You could easily have made that argument. He was in the running for SEC Player of the Year with Grant Williams, and Grant Williams in those 2 years at Tennessee was dominant. I know that didn't transition to the NBA, which, we obviously thought it wouldn't because he's more of a tweener than he is a big man or even a small forward. But SGA was that dude. And I wish I'd taken in the moment more of covering that game. Because if I had known what I was watching, Lord have mercy, I may have tried to watch him a little bit more. Obviously, it was my job to pay attention to Tennessee. I covered every game. But, man, what a journey that's been. And it's crazy that he just won an NBA MVP, and he's my age. He might even be younger. Because he left college, I believe I was a sophomore when he was a freshman. That's one thing that doesn't sit well with me getting older is because I have to look at these kids and what they're doing with my life, and they're better in their profession than I ever will be in mine or at anything I do. Heaven forbid. SGA was that dog, and he has proven that. He could very well have 2 MVPs, and I think in a couple short weeks, he'll have a championship ring on his finger. It's crazy to think about. Makes me cherish my time in the media more, in legacy media, I should say. It's a time in my life where, I was young, dumb in a lot of senses, made a lot of mistakes, dumb decisions. I was a kid. But ultimately, it just didn't. The industry showed me the door just as much as I wanted to show it the door. And that's why I'm doing my own thing now, because I have no corporate overlords telling me what I can and can't do every single second of every single day. Corporate overlords who were not paying me enough to do so. Put it quite frank. But SGA, man, getting the chance to cover him at Kentucky and now to see what he's become, it's something else. I can't even begin to put into words how blown away I am. It's the same thing with me sitting here saying Lamar Jackson, not to bring up football, that's going to actually transition to our next topic, is 1 month younger than me and won 2 MVPs, should be 3. And his first team All-Pro making $250 million. Man, only I'd had those genetics. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But yeah, just and to piggyback off of that SEC tournament game in 2018, why I said it's my Greyhound story, and I'll never, ever take a Greyhound again, as if I would anyway, being this age. So we left St. Louis directly after the game. I took an Uber to the bus station. We had already checked out of the team hotel because that was back when actually the team we actually got to stay in the team hotel. They paid for it, and we got to stay on the floor with the players if that's a conflict of interest, but I'll take it. We had room service and everything. But I was supposed to leave St. Louis at 6:30. Had 2 stops in Indianapolis and Cincinnati before I was scheduled to get back to Knoxville. I believe it was the next morning. And I didn't get back to Knoxville until Tuesday at about 3 in the afternoon. Want to know why? Left St. Louis. I did not sleep a lick on these buses, keep in mind, because I didn't trust anyone not to steal anything. And the funny thing was, while I was in my game attire, blazer and sweater and whatnot, man, how many people asked me for money? No, and I know I didn't have any. I was a broke college student. I don't even know if I had any money to get food on the way home. Oh, no, actually I did, because I did pick up some pizza. Yeah, that was back in my unhealthy eating days. But got to Indianapolis. Unfortunately, missed our bus from Indianapolis to Cincinnati. So we had to be redirected to Columbus. There, we had a 3-hour layover in which I witnessed. Crazy enough, that was when I decided to change into my hoodie and sweatpants. I was about to go into the bathroom to do so. And all of a sudden, I hear some shriek, some scream, someone screaming bloody murder. I thought it was one of the movies on the TV sets that were around the station. Heaven forbid that Greyhound could actually afford TV sets. Saying TV sets, man, that takes me back. But all of a sudden, 4 guys come out, and old man comes out with half his face drenched in blood. And then I see a little security guy in dreads chasing these 4 guys out of here. And I'm not going to repeat what he said. He said, "Yeah, you ever come back here again? I'll whoop yo, you know what?" I was about to go in there literally to change. Literally was walking there when I heard the shrieks. So heaven forbid I was lucky. But got there, spent the layover, was tired as could be. Then I had to be redirected to my hometown of Dayton, Ohio. And when we were redirected from my hometown of Dayton, Ohio, guess what? The bus from Dayton to Cincinnati was late. So I knew that I was not catching my bus from Cincinnati to Knoxville. So we got to Cincinnati about 3 o'clock Monday afternoon. Bus wasn't going to be there till midnight. I hadn't slept in nearly 36 hours. And yeah. So we raised hell at the front desk, and they ended up paying for us a hotel room for the afternoon, I guess I should say. They shuttled us there so I could sleep, which was nice. Slept, ate, was ready. Shuttle picked us up at 12 to get back to the bus. And guess what? The bus driver didn't show up. So we had to wait another 3.5 hours and get picked up at 4:30 in the morning. And then, of course, we had to stop in Kentucky because the bus had a problem, engine problem that needed to be fixed. They actually transferred us over to a different bus. And finally, nearly 48 hours later, I was riding back home. I didn't sleep a blink. There's no way in hell I was falling asleep on a Greyhound. Because my luck, I'd have woke up and my luggage would have been gone. My hoodie would have been gone. My phone would have been gone. Heck, I don't even remember if I had headphones at the time. I think I did. They'd have been gone too. Yeah, I did, because that's how we transcribe quotes when you're a print reporter. Got to be able to listen to them. Yeah, that's my Greyhound story. I'll never ride a Greyhound again. I will pay for first class tickets on a plane before I have to ride Greyhound again, if that's my only option. Even if it was a flight from Knoxville to Nashville, I'd still pay for first class before I take a Greyhound. I'd drive a car on a donut tire to Nashville before I take a Greyhound. How many of you can say that? Probably not many. But before we get into the final topic, I'm sorry, I apologize. It is a relatively short show today. Got to get into some more comments, just a couple. Okay. And Study Boy, the official Tennessee hater, says the real UT has a Manning QB, my guy, and he didn't even start. So if he was that good, why ain't Gateway Arch Manning starting? He might be this year, but didn't really show much. They went with Quinn Ewers over him, and Quinn Ewers ended up costing them their playoff game against Ohio State. Real UT, my behind. And yeah, sounds like a nightmare, O'Connor, because that was a nightmare. I will never do it again, and I'm so thankful now that experience is 7 years behind. 7 years. Man, that makes me feel young. But transitioning into the final topic of today, we're actually going to dive into a little NFL action. Now, as we do all know, I am a Ravens fan. I proudly sport my black and purple. Derrick Henry is coming off of a 2-year, $30 million contract extension with $25 million guaranteed, the largest contract extension for a running back over 30 in NFL history. And he definitely earned it. Rushed for over 1,900 yards, 16 touchdowns on the ground, led the NFL, tied with James Cook actually for first, and additional 2 touchdowns through the air. If you really compare the numbers, I know Saquon won Offensive Player of the Year. The Eagles won the Super Bowl in large part because of him. But Saquon only ran for about 80 more yards than Derrick Henry on 20, and Derrick Henry had 20 less carries. Saquon didn't have as many touchdowns as Derrick Henry. you could argue that Derrick Henry was the best running back last season. That's why he's atop of all the preseason power rankings for running backs, despite Saquon being on the cover of Madden and backwards hurdling a dude. But he appeared on the Dan Patrick Show, talked about the upcoming season, and in doing so, Dan made a pretty interesting proposition. I'm gonna play the clip for you, and we're gonna react to it on the other side.
Okay, Dan. Thank you for wearing that hoodie, man. Lime green brighten up my day. Appreciate it.
Well, this is Happy Gilmore 2. This is what Adam Sandler gave me.
Okay, that's one of my. Adam Sandler, my favorite actor. So that's what's up.
So that's the Happy Gilmore golf swing right there. That patch right there.
Hey, can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
If you ever see him again, tell him I'm a really big fan. I would really love to meet him one day.
Okay. You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to text him today and ask if he'll send a video.
Please.
And then I'm going to send it to the Ravens.
Okay, cool. I'm a huge fan.
Okay. And if you get to 2,000 yards, I'll get you in a Sandler movie.
All right, cool. Say no more.
Is that all right?
Remember that now. You remember this? Remember that?
No. I'll take care of my end of it.
Okay.
I mean, mine's easy.
Yeah.
Yours is hard. You got to get 2,000 yards.
Say no more.
No pressure.
Bet is on. No pressure at all.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
All right. See y'all.
Okay. So great stuff right there. Always great stuff when you tune into the Dan Patrick Show. And always a good when you get Derrick Henry opening up and smiling like that, because he is a pretty reserved and, private guy. Usually he's pretty straightforward with the media, but sometimes you can tell he's a little bit reserved, not as forthcoming, which is understandable. They like their private life. But Derrick Henry previewing the season and may appear in an Adam Sandler movie. Wow. Just imagine what kind of season cap that would be if the Ravens go on to win the Super Bowl and then Derrick Henry gets to rushes for 2,000 yards and appears in an Adam Sandler movie. I'm going to go watch it. I need to see if this guy can act or not. Count me in. The crazy thing about Derrick Henry being, a longtime Ravens supporter is that I used to hate him from a standpoint that he always destroyed the Ravens, and he destroyed our Super Bowl hopes and destroyed their Super Bowl hopes in 2019 when he rushed for almost 200 yards and made Earl Thomas into a meme. Then obviously been the best running back in the NFL over the past decade. Had a resurgent season, even though he only played, he was injured the year before and still rushed for 1,200 yards. But he was washed and over the hill, and then he goes on to basically rush for 2,000 and turns, Lamar and he perhaps the most dangerous offensive duo in the league. Could Derrick Henry rush for 2,000 yards this season as he approaches 31? He may even be 31. I don't know. I'd have to check. Given the fact that how he takes care of himself and how I've seen him train this offseason and that he was at OTAs and so was Lamar and D-Hop and all these vets, yeah, I wouldn't put it past him. Derrick Henry has the discipline that any guy dreams of having. No fried foods, no dairy, no gluten. Doesn't eat until after 12. Doesn't eat until after 4 or 5 o'clock on some days, which I can relate to that. I am guilty of usually fasting throughout the day and then eating a lot at night, which is, that's a topic we'll get into another day. But Derrick Henry in an Adam Sandler movie, I mean, I'm trying to picture him like a Shaq. I just don't know I don't think he quite has that personality, but who knows? Maybe he could surprise me. LeBron was hilarious in Trainwreck. Granted, he's always had that outgoing, in front of the camera persona. Wasn't as good in Space Jam 2, though. We weren't even going to get into that. But Derrick Henry in an Adam Sandler movie, and can he rush for 2,000 yards? Yeah, absolutely. Am I going to go out on the limb right now and say he will? Maybe I'll talk myself into it before I do my preseason predictions. Who knows? Maybe. That's a big maybe, though. But Derrick Henry, I definitely see him going for 1,500. I definitely seen him playing just as big of a role in the Ravens offense this year as he did last year. And I definitely think that this is the year that the Ravens get it done. Get to that stage. They have to. This is going to be the last hurrah for this core, this group. Derrick Henry and Lamar could be around longer. Zay Flowers, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith. But So many guys have void years in the back end of their contracts so they could save some cap room for this year, the way the salary cap's broken down. And this has got to be the year. I mean, the Ravens fans have said it every year for the past 3 years. I felt like this is the year. This has got to be the year. I've been guilty of that. I said it last year had to be the year. And, if it wasn't for shooting yourselves in the foot for the millionth time, it seems, in a row in the playoffs, the Ravens could have represented the AFC in the Super Bowl. And I'm not a big believer in the Bills. I think they overachieved a lot. They're going to be better. They got a cakewalk of a schedule. Josh Allen should put up MVP type numbers again, even though he didn't put up better numbers than Lamar last year, nor the year before. So, we'll get into that another time. But Derrick Henry in an Adam Sandler movie. Man, I can't wait to see it. Oh, maybe I just gave away my prediction. Who knows? But like I said, you all, it's a short show today. I do appreciate everyone for tuning in. I'll get into a couple of last comments before we sign off here for the night. Okay. Oh, man, I totally forgot this. He's a traitor, but I get it. He wants to win a Super Bowl. He wasn't a traitor, actually. You want to know why? Because Tennessee let him go. He was a free agent. They chose not to re-sign him. So he didn't betray you. He just went where he should have been the entire time because I'm sorry, Derrick Henry was born to be a Raven. He was born to be a Raven. He plays like one. He acts like one. He leads like one. And he damn sure looks better in Ravens purple than he did in Tennessee Titans colors. What is that? Blue and silver. And yeah, I'll get into that. Kelly Maddox confirms that Derrick is 31, and hopefully we can see him in an Adam Sandler movie. Oh, dang. Man, you know more about football than I do, and I'm supposed to be the analyst over here. But, yeah, hopefully we can. We'll see what the next Adam Sandler movie is going to be. It's a shame he didn't get in Happy Gilmore 2. Maybe he'll make a third one. I don't know. I can't wait to see it, though. Trevor Scott says the Ravens aren't even the top in their division. Now, what are you talking about? The Ravens are by far the top of their division. Cincinnati has no defense. Pittsburgh only barely scraped into the playoffs last year, and now they don't even have a quarterback. And they just lost George Pickens. Yeah, they got DK Metcalf, but who's throwing in the ball? Even if it's Aaron Rodgers, that's not going to do much. Patrick Queen regressed, as we said he would. They got a good defense, but how's that unit going to age? Bengals, don't even get me started. They got Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. They live or die by that. Yoshi Vosh is solid. Mike is saying they got solid tight ends, but they have no defense. They don't even have Trey Hendrickson on their roster. And he was the only positive part of that defense last year, getting 17.5 sacks. But guess what? They spent over 65, I believe it was 73% of their salary cap on 3 players. And the way T. Higgins, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow deserve it. I'll give them that. But the way T. Higgins' contract is structured, he's getting a bunch of guaranteed money this year, but it just opens room up for them to cut him after this year and save some money. And that's all the Bengals ever care about. They don't care about winning. They don't care about their fans. The Brown family are a little mom pop shop. They just care about saving money. It's why Carson Palmer got the hell out of there back in 2010, 11, whichever it was. You put financial gain over winning. That's been their motto. They charge players for Gatorade, heaven forbid. You don't even get 3 meals a day if you go play in Cincinnati. And they just now, I believe, built an indoor practice facility, and they play in Southern Ohio. I'm from Southern Ohio. I know what the snow's like there. I ain't trying to practice outside every single time. It's not good on the body. But, of course, the Brown family, who cheated the taxpayers of Cincinnati to build then Paul Brown Stadium, now Paycor Stadium, are threatening to leave if they don't get a stadium upgrade? Like, what? What a dumpster fire organization. So the Ravens are the top of their division by far. They have the best offense. Cincinnati had a good offense last year, but they're not more well-rounded than the Ravens. I'm sorry. Bateman and Zay Flowers and DeAndre Hopkins is a legit receiving core, paired with Mark Andrews, paired with Isaiah Likely. Then you got Derrick Henry in the backfield. Then you got Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell backing him up. And then you got the best player in the NFL, Lamar Jackson, under center. And then you go to the defensive side of the ball. You got Roquan Smith, first-team All-Pro last 2 seasons, 1A, 1B with Fred Warner in terms of the best middle linebacker. You got Kyle Hamilton, who's the best safety in all of football and the best Swiss Army knife in all of football. All-Pro 2 years in a row. Marlon Humphrey was first-team All-Pro again last year. Led all cornerbacks, or I believe was second in all cornerbacks in terms of interceptions. Nate Wiggins, is going to be a ferocious beast in year 2, and he was sticking people in year 1. In fact, if you look it up on Pro Football Focus, Nate Wiggins gave up no touchdowns, and I believe he was a top 2 in completion percentage when targeted. He's going to be even more comfortable and more attuned to the Ravens system. Zach Orr is going to be in year 2. You remember that Ravens defense was number 1 over the course of the second half of the season, not number 31 in pass defense like they were when Marcus Williams was back there at free safety. And then they draft Malachi Starks on top of it. Now, they did lose our Darius Washington for the season, but Malachi Starks is going to be a dog. I will be highly surprised if he's a bust. Kyle Van Noy, Nnamdi Madubuike up front, Travis Jones, Big Mike Pierce has gone to retirement. Salute to you. Odafe Oweh coming in with something to prove, and he had a double-digit sack season last year. So did Kyle Van Noy. And who knows what they're going to do for the rest of the offseason. And you're saying Pittsburgh beats the Ravens first game. I don't believe the Ravens play Pittsburgh in the first game, but Pittsburgh will not beat the Ravens because even if Aaron Rodgers is back there, they don't have a quarterback. And he says, your offense is rare. Your offense was the reason you guys lost most of your games and you lost the playoffs. It is well-rounded. You want to know why? Because Zay Flowers, over 1,000 yards. Mark Andrews, 11 touchdowns, 600 yards. He led the league in tight ends and touchdowns for tight ends. Isaiah Likely is about to be tight end 1 because he's that dude. Rashad Bateman had 750 yards and 9 touchdowns and made contested catch after contested catch. Then you had DeAndre Hopkins as wide receiver 3. I don't care if he's old. He's a wide receiver 3. And then you go to Derrick Henry out of the backfield, Justice Hill out of the backfield. Lamar Jackson rushed for almost 1,000 yards last season, and he threw for 41 touchdowns and passed for 4,000 yards. That's a well-rounded offense if you've ever seen it, and they have a great offensive line. That is a well-rounded offense. That's the definition of well-rounded. Yeah, they fumbled the bag in the biggest moment, but a lot of teams do that. It just happens. Seriously. Everyone said the Chiefs were the best team. Did they win the Super Bowl this year? No. They said that when they were going up against Tampa Bay. Did they win the Super Bowl? No. Derrick is 16th ranked offense for this season. You think that Lamar Jackson is going to lead the 16th ranked offense, Trevor? Really? That's a tractor comment right there. They were the number 1 offense last year. They were the number 1 offense the year before. They've been 2 years in a row. They're not dropping below top 5. In fact, they're going to be number 1 again. Just wait and see. And Lamar is going to win MVP like he should have last year. But that's all I have for you all tonight. Be sure to comment, like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe, click that bell button so you get notified whenever I do my weekly live shows. Well, 3 times weekly live shows. And be sure to follow the show on Instagram at The Cory Sanding Show. Follow it on X/Twitter at Cory Sanding Show. And follow me on my social media accounts at Cory Sanding on Instagram, at Cory Sanding on X/Twitter. And you can find me by my full name on Facebook. And you're just going to have to look that up and find out for yourself. And the Bears are not going to lead the NFL in offense through week 12, man. I don't know what you're talking about. Caleb Williams, we don't even know what he's going to look like. You got a good offense. You're on the come up. But keyword is on the come up. You still got to deal with the Lions. You still got to deal with the Packers. And you still got to deal with the Vikings in your division. Now that Pittsburgh doesn't have a quarterback and Cleveland's in disarray and Cincinnati has no defense, you all might have the best division in football. Even with Sam Darnold gone. Who knows? We'll see. But the Ravens do not suck, and that's going to sign me off for today. I appreciate you all for tuning in. We'll be back at live 7 Eastern time on Friday. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.